Right, so a year of lows plummeting to greater depths for both Andy Murray and Novak Djokovic. Somdev, these are the two players who started this year as the top two ranked players in the world. There is a scenario now which is possible if they fail to make the final at the US Open as well, where it would be the first time in this millennium that neither of the two players who started the year as number one managed to win a single slam.
Yeah, to be completely honest, it's a little disappointing, but it's not all that surprising. I think, I think Andy Murray as well as Novak Djokovic have gone through a major part of their careers without any major injury. I think Andy had a small thing with the back, but he came back in 3 months. And Novak was injury prone a lot earlier in his career, but over the last 6-7 years, they've showed incredible consistency. So this is definitely a little bit of a blow to all Murray and Djokovic fans. To be completely honest, I think Murray is the guy who's got a hip injury, and people from his team, people who are close to him, said that I think rest is probably the best option for him at this point. He's even contemplating, maybe skipping the US Open, as is Djokovic. But if I was a Djokovic fan, I'd be a little bit more concerned at this point, because I'm not sure about the last time he actually conceded a match. This time, after losing the first set, he just completely stopped playing, which was a little concerning. Plus, he's always had his issues with his elbow. Now he's saying it was the shoulder. They're both saying they're contemplating surgery. It's tough times for these guys. Tennis is a tough sport. The body goes through a lot year in and year out, and these guys have been doing it for over half a decade. So eventually their body has kind of broken down, and we're just seeing the results now. So, to be honest, I just hope that these guys get better soon. They've been great for the game, and I just wish them speedy recoveries.
And isn't it ironical, Somdev, that this slide for both Murray and Djokovic, especially coming as it does due to fitness at the moment, comes in a year where the old guard has risen to the occasion. This is the year that will go down as the renaissance and recovery and redemption of Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer, while Nadal at 31, Roger Federer at 35, are still able to make it all the way. Is it perhaps where Murray and Djokovic pale a little in comparison to the duo who they toppled to take over the mantle of tennis superstardom?
There's no question. That's a fantastic point. And once again, sources close to both of those guys have been saying that they've actually learned a lot from what Rafa and Roger did last year by taking an extended break. So they're considering it. They definitely know that it could be one of their best options. And they've learned that if they take that time off, they can really not just get better, but at the end of it, work on their game and come back as better tennis players and really give their competition something new to worry about. So I think that's what's going to happen. These guys have, Roger and Rafa have proven that they can take 6 months off and come back and play at the highest level right again. So I'm sure that these guys also believe that they can do it. It's just a question of really figuring out how bad their injuries really are, and if they really need that much time off, or if they can kind of, come back within 2 or 3 months. So at this point, both these guys, their number one priority is Grand Slams, and I think nothing else is really in their radar. So they're going to be really looking at the US Open, seeing exactly how much time they need for that, and taking a decision based on the US Open chances.
Right, I know injuries obviously are something which are out of control after a point for players, Somdev. But one worrying trend which we've sort of picked on, if you look at Djokovic and Murray through this year, you look at some of the players they've lost to. Murray at the Australian Open lost to Misha Zverev. He's had a second round exit at Indian Wells to Vasek Pospisil, lost to Borja Koric in Madrid in the round of 16, even suffered a first round exit at Queens of all places to world number 90 Jordan Thompson. Similarly, Novak Djokovic too has lost to some players who you thought it was almost impossible for him to lose to. So is that another aspect of the game which would obviously be causing them a lot of concern in their camps?
Well, there's two real ways to look at this. One is Murray and Djokovic's level dipping, or two is the depth in men's tennis getting deeper and deeper. I think there's a little bit of both, to be honest. I think it's safe to say that this is the most inconsistent year that Murray and Djokovic have had in the last 5, 6, 7 years, because earlier they were never losing to guys outside the top 50, top 60, and this year they both have been a little bit inconsistent compared to their previous year's performance. Now, going back to the men's tennis thing, I think, men's tennis is getting deeper and deeper. You see guys in the 60s, 70s going out and winning titles. I think just last week in the grass, you had a unranked unseeded Japanese player go out and win a grass court tournament for the first time. So Jill Muller actually just won his first tour event this year as well. So I think, it goes both ways. Obviously, Djokovic and Murray are not playing their best, but I think everybody else is really stepping it up, and the level of tennis now is really at the highest it's ever been.
Right, so Somdev Varman there saying despite tough times for the top two, at least as the top two when the year started, it is good times for men's singles tennis, and we're sure, Somdev, it's also good times for tennis irrespective of what happens over the next 3 days. We'll be sure to have you here with us to analyse the end of Wimbledon 2017. On that note, thank you, Somdev, for your time. Always a pleasure having you with us. We're going to move on with the show, and we'll move to cricket now. Exiled former BCCI President Anurag Thakur has finally offered an unconditional apology to the Supreme Court in a contempt of court case against him. Thakur's apology comes days after the Apex Court directed the former BCCI boss to tender a new unequivocal and categorical apology. The bench, comprising Justices Deepak Misra, A.M. Khanwilkar and D.Y. Chandrachud, stated that they were not going to accept the earlier affidavit presented to the court by Thakur. The Apex Court had initiated contempt proceedings against him earlier this year for filing a false affidavit. The matter is up for hearing in the Supreme Court on Friday. Yes, and that could be a difficult Friday coming up for the BCCI as the Supreme Court prepares to hear that case. We're shifting our attention to Formula One for the moment, though. Ahead of the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, London came to a standstill last night as Formula One teams held a gala to promote the race. For the first time, all Formula One teams came together to put on a public show outside of a race weekend. The gala is an attempt by F1's new owners, Liberty Media, to cash in on the universal appeal of the sport and connect with newer audiences. Barring three-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who defied team orders despite being from England, every other driver in the paddock turned up. Last year's retired world champion Nico Rosberg was there along with a host of other former champions, including Damon Hill, Mika Hakkinen and Jenson Button, with Silverstone opting not to extend its F1 hosting contract post-2019. There is a talk of a street race through London.
To shut down a city for an entire weekend, like London. We do it in other places, so it's not impossible. But yeah, for sure it would be great to be closer to the people. Even certainly would miss some of the corners that we have in Silverstone, which are unique and very enjoyable as a driver. But yeah, maybe we can have a change every year. Who knows?
Right, the who's who of American sport turned out in full force for the annual ESPYs that honors excellence in individual and team achievement. Olympic champions Michael Phelps and Simone Biles were the big winners on the night. Take a look at what happened.
Golden State Warriors. Zaza, you got something for him? Russell Westbrook.
First and foremost, man, I'd like to thank the man above.
Simone Biles.
Thank you guys so much.
Michael Phelps.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome. And today is my wife's birthday, and we met here 10 years ago.
I'm proud to be joined by these special Olympians who represent millions of athletes around the globe.
Right, that's all we have time for tonight on WION Sports. It has been a tumultuous last week to follow a tumultuous last month in Indian cricket, but today marks 15 years of a special triumph for Team India. On this day in 2002, Yuvraj Singh and Mohammad Kaif took India to one of their most remarkable triumphs to clinch the NatWest Trophy final against England. We leave you with pictures from that iconic day at Lord's. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my director Bhuvan, who says goodbye to us at WION and calls time on his stint.
No one back on the offside boundary. That's his 50. The captain is now leading by example. time.